Hello and welcome back to the Planet Zoo Halloween special. My name is Vivalina and I'm super happy that you found your way to my channel or maybe even back to my channel to see this abandoned graveyard project. We are on part 2 today. That means we are gonna watch the whole part finish. I have selected some things to show. I have not shown everything in the video because I didn't want to make it too long, and I did quite some more building here than originally planned. So what you're seeing right now is one of various mausoleum exhibits. I'm saying this because I actually just recorded for one of them, and the other ones I did off screen, but in general the structure is quite similar, and I still think that this might be the most extravagant, let's say. And yeah, what we are doing today is various things. So we're gonna see the mausoleum being built, and then we are gonna have a small mausoleum alley with various mausoleums that I have built. And behind those, there will be the big graveyard. So we have a small part in front of the church, but of course the zoo with the time also had to grow and extend it to that side. So the rich people obviously went into their fancy mausoleums, and for the, let's say, normal people, in the back there was the big regular graveyard, since the other parts on the other side of the zoo already are so old they have not been in use at the time that the church was built. And yeah, there we will have, let's say, a normal graveyard and a very special and, in my opinion, quite spooky animal moving in, which is the hyena. So this is what we are gonna see today. Also, just some general stuff happening in the zoo, like me making some borders messy, like plants overgrowing, just so you see that it has really not been taken care of at all. And also one special entrance for the guests. At the end of today's video, we are also gonna go into real-time part where we are gonna tour the zoo. So while we are watching this mausoleum being built and decorated, I have realized that in the last video I have not told you about myself, just about the plans for the channel. So I thought I will take the little time here. So my name is actually Alina, and I am half Nicaraguan, half German. So the German you might already have heard in my accent, and Nicaraguan, for those of you who do not know, Nicaragua is a small country in South America, and people there speak Spanish. This also brings the part of viva into my name. So viva means like life or to live, and I see the irony of me starting my channel, which basically is like Life Alina, with a themed zoo, which is a graveyard. But in the end, I mean, Planet Zoo is all about the fun, and you will in future videos also see less dark topics. So I really hope you will stay and enjoy the watch. So this was just a little bit about myself. Also, talking about the future of the channel, I already have a project which I have been working on for a long time, and I really plan to also bring that here to life. I have not fully decided how I'm gonna do it about the parts that have already been built. I have recorded it everything, but I'm not sure I will do a super detailed speed build about them. I don't know, let me know if you have any preferences for that. And here you also see the graveyard of the hyena and the mausoleums. There is a big part which partially just didn't get recorded, and partially also the recording was not really usable because I was building at a very low FPS rate. I don't know what was going on that day. So yeah, that is why this all is already built. But for you to know, the structure for the one mausoleum counts for all of them. It was just slightly different, some decoration on the outside which I made different. And also for the graveyard, I used the same crosses that we already had in the crocodile build, which are a very simple build. And then the only other thing I did are those frames around the graves, which are like those dome pieces in a rectangle, which kind of framed it a bit. And here you already see the spider which we used to have it got moved. It didn't stay behind the tree, below the tree. I just didn't like feel that great about the position. I already once moved it into the wood of the wolves, but that I also wasn't super happy about. So this is why now it is here. And you see the guests are crazy for Mausoleum Alley. This is maybe not so surprising, since in graveyards mausoleum are usually the most interesting buildings, and this might also be where rich or famous people are buried, and therefore also some people go there for specifically this reason. And this becomes true in the zoo just because of all the little exhibits with spooky animals like snakes and spiders and scorpions living there. So this explains why the Mausoleum Alley is so visited. And then of course we are building this little wall around the graveyard. This is an addition which came later, so if you remember, on the church front we have the fence, wooden fence, so the most basic fence, and here it was already like the village in the area, it had more money and so on, so they invested into a proper graveyard which had some entry here, but the animals are not actually fenced off. And yeah, here just finishing up some of the nice little wall around and seeing what we can do. About the path which leads through there, this is maybe something interesting. So at the beginning people could actually walk inside the hyena habitat, and for some weird reason they were also not all running away all the time, but there were so many people in there, it just looked so bad, so I decided to banish them. And I still left the little walls open, and thanks to the new curb and barrier options, I put some guest barriers there. I sunk them in the ground so you don't actually see them, but that's why the guests don't cross over into the area. And I took care to make like some small paths between the crosses, and this looks super cool because it's just the same nice path that we also have normally for the guests, so it kind of goes over almost seamless there, and I really like that look, and I really like that now we have this option. And yeah, here I'm just planting loads and loads of plants. At some point I thought, am I done? Do I have enough? And then I was like, no, and I just continued. So this will go on here for a little while, and I think I will also leave you alone with the speedbuild for a bit, and then later on we can meet again for the live tour of the zoo. We will just have, you know, what I already mentioned, this graveyard, some general cleaning up of the borders of the whole zoo, and of course the nice shop for the guests, and some forest filling. So I wanted it right now, at this moment it's just trees standing there, but I have never seen a forest which has just trees and no bushes on the ground, so that will also be added, and that I also took in there, so we have a more nature-based episode here today. And yeah, I will meet you again for the live tour of the zoo, and I hope you enjoy the video and the music and the whole Halloween vibes. I am back, and now we can do the live tour of the abandoned graveyard. So entering here to the left, you see the pumpkin shops, which have the drink shops and the food stalls, and of course also the Hats Fantastic shop, where everybody can dress up for Halloween. In the background we also have edited some more forest, so it looks just a bit more set in the scene. But now, going towards the door, we see already those interesting signs standing out, warning us not to enter the zoo. So it says stay out, death risk, and it just really wants us not to go, but we will of course do it anyhow. And the sign as well as the ravens, those are workshop items, and I will link them in the video description. So let's actually enter, and here to the left is a habitat you have not seen so far. This is because it is quite similar to the crocodile habitat, and that's also why it was not in the speed build. So if you go in there, you might already assume what can be in there if it's not crocodiles, and probably you have guessed right. And what can we see here? A little alligator. So this is where I brought in the American alligators, because they would of course also be super happy in this kind of habitat. And you see, they are getting ready for their pumpkin meal, because after all it is still Halloween, and even the alligators know that. And if we go a bit further here, you can see even more of them sitting around having a family meal together. And even those super cute babies, they have such a nice coloring. I love the color of their scales, it's just so adorable. They might be my favorite Planet Zoo animal babies. And now if we go back, let's walk quickly back to our fountain. We also see here the skeleton. It has moved from the crocodiles to the alligators and the little old school. And then if we walk towards the left of the main plaza, you see that this was also a place which was well taken care of, but even that is already overgrown with some leaves. Like even the flower beds, you can see they are also not in their best shape anymore. And then to the left here we have two more mausoleums. One is housing the desert scorpion. Let's see if we can find it. And yeah, there they are sitting. It's always so tiny and so tough to spot them, but there they are. I don't think I will go into every exhibit, just because it's always so hard to find those little ones, and I think this is something you can do if you want, if you download the whole zoo in the Steam Workshop. And here, this is where the forest scorpion would be housed, but I don't think that we can see it right now. So let's just continue. From the main plaza, if we go on that route, on the left hand side we will have the alligator habitat, and on the right hand side we will have the crocodiles. So let's see if we can see. I don't think we can see any of the alligators or crocodiles here. The crocodiles for some weird reason don't spend that much time in the zoo. But now, as we walk around the crocodile habitat, let's remember that this is a themed Halloween zoo and it is all about the graveyard and is not meant to be an actual zoo or realistical zoo. So that's also why they have the null barriers and why, for example, the plants don't necessarily fit their actual needs. When we walk past here, we also see that there are some crocodiles being boxed. It's quite annoying. It has to do, I think, with the null barriers. And then often those animals get boxed when they somehow skip out of it. It's a bit annoying, but what are you gonna do? That's just how it is in the game. And yeah, this is the oldest part of the zoo, so it's the most grown over. And that's also something we can really see here. And that's also why there are already so many crosses missing and why it's so unstructured and so on. So historically, the oldest part were the crocodile and the alligator area, then the church where the wolves are got added, and then also the mausoleums and the other graves. That's like the last part that got added. Yeah, and here we see all the crocodiles which were just in a box sitting around here happily, and also some of them going in the water. And I don't think we get to see it now, but this is like one of the coolest things to see when they actually swim in the water with the plants sticking out, because it actually looks like this shallow water, which it is supposed to be. And skipping through the pumpkin, lovely. Yeah, so let's see, maybe you go swimming? And no, it doesn't. But yeah, I also really like that when you have the crocodiles and the alligators and you see them shortly after each other, you really can spot the difference between those. So this is very well done, and also the detail on their scales, I just love it. It's just amazing. And then let's go to one of the main parts here, which is the wolf church. We will start with the back entrance, where we also see the little forest, or the pathway more. So yeah, this is one of the I think this is the only dead end in the zoo that really leads nowhere. But this is just because here starts the mystical haunted forest, where all the wolves would also come out of, and it would look really cool, but I think they are all already on the right side. But yeah, this would be one door to their church, and then to the right we can see the graveyard, which is in front of the church. Remember, I had to switch the whole forest and the graveyard. They were opposite ways for a second. Whoops, and what happens? We are in the cave. Okay, let's take a short look. There are only 4 wolves. Honestly, sometimes all of them sit there together, but apparently not today. Yeah, and here one of them eating out of the coffin. Aw, such a cutie. And let's jump back to the path of the visitors. You see also the fence is here a bit broken down and everything a bit raggedy and not in the best shape. Yeah, so this is the view on the church. In the end of the video, we will go back to it during nighttime, because that's when it actually looks its absolute best. But I wanted to have this day of time just because I think that it's like more comfortable to see things, and not everything is super in the dark, but it's also not the super bright summer day or something. Yeah, let's take this in. This is just our church, this is just our crosses, and now we will move towards the Mausoleum alley, one of my favorite parts of the zoo, right after the church. Let's go there. While we go there, what will we see? The mausoleums, of course, and after also take a quick look at the forest. And arriving here to our left, we can see that the spider has finally found its proper home, sitting there watching over its children, and so has the snake. And the snake right now is just chilling in the water and also watching over so that nothing happens to its children. Because in those mausoleum exhibits, we actually just have spiders and snakes. So all kinds of spiders, all kinds of snakes. It's quite full. And again, like most of the mausoleums, they actually all have the same structure as the first one. They just differ in their detailed decorations. And it was actually quite fun to build them. And maybe I even will put them on the workshop. Let me know if you would like to see the mausoleums also on the workshop as items. And then you can download them if you plan any graveyard projects. I don't know. Here we have 2 which have the lions. And I was thinking that maybe some family which has the lions as their sigil has these 2 mausoleums. That would make sense, or in that period lions were specifically loved, or I don't know, it's just the statues we had and I thought they looked majestic over there. Yeah, and here we just see more different mausoleums. It took quite a while to build them all, and I think with especially this area in mind, I also was a bit more monochrome with the plants, so we mostly have those rose bushes, because they were originally planted there, but they have grown quite out of shape. They are not like cut back or anything, and that's why they look a bit like they currently do. Also, those little lights on the floor, I added them very late, so I don't think you saw that in the speed builds. Yeah, let's take a last look at the mausoleum alley. I really like how it looks, and this one on the left, that's the first one I had built, so that's actually the one you saw in the speed build. I think it really makes a nice overall picture. And when we go back here, we can just take a quick look into the forest. So this is like the haunted wolf forest. I took care that it like has some things also grown on the floor, but that it's not super overgrown, so that the wolves still have a traversable area there. But still, even though they could, they rarely go there, I think just basically because of not being enough enrichment items on that side, and they rather like the front of the church, which is also cool because when we have guests, that's where the guests are. So now let's take a look at our last habitat, and that's the hyena habitat. And it's just like this big graveyard that we have. And here we have a lot of plants. For some reason, this area was specifically good for them, and it also has to do with the fact that a lot of the plants got like planted on the graves and they just grew over, went to the others, and so on. So here you see the hyena already running through the graveyard with the mist. It always, it gives me such chills to see this nice mist. It's so cool. And yeah, to the left and right we always have those little paths with even more graves, like you see here. And yeah, I think it's a very nice part also to tour, and it was a very hard work to put that many plants in there. I mean, you saw some part of it, so you know. And now let's take a turn at the hyena's most favorite place, and that's their little pond. So from the other side, if you remember, that's where the snake is sitting, and the hyenas really like that little snake pond, and they go bathing there and playing there and even sometimes sleeping there. So there you go, there are some of them playing. They just really like it. And I don't know if you see in the mist, sorry, there's also one of the hyenas actually swimming. Ah, so nice. Okay, I think that was it for the tour. In a second we will go also with a hard cut to the church at night. Just because I wanted to thank you all for watching the video, and if you liked it, please leave a like, please subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified the next time that I post any content. Happy Halloween and have a lovely weekend!